Are you stuck in a place where you watch other artists create flawless hairstroke patterns, but when it's your turn, your hand just doesn't listen? And you try to draw the pattern on the latex or on the client, but somehow the direction feels off, your flow gets messy, and your confidence drops, and the worst, your left and right eyebrow completely do not match. And as always, if you're new to my channel, my name is /Cherry. I help artists skyrocket their skill with an amazing program, Now It's My Time. And I help them to be fully booked with the Booked Out program, which is sponsor of today's video. So first of all, before drawing any pattern, we need to understand the natural hair growth direction. So let me show you this client, and then we will learn the pattern for this client. You can see that at the tails, the hairs start to grow down. They are growing upwards, but then they are kind of growing down. So this gives us an idea of the pattern that we will draw for this particular client. So I will take my iPad. I will first show this on iPad, and we will be switching from the procedure process to the iPad so you can understand how to draw this pattern not only on the flat surface of an iPad, but actually how to do this on a real client for your better understanding. So this is our starting point. First of all, as you know, there are somewhat three types of the patterns that exist, which is the lower spine, the middle spine, and the upper spine, where the strokes all flow upwards. Now, we can tell which pattern is this before we draw the shape, because for instance, if you draw the shape for the client, which is like this, then this obviously will be the low spine, because the spine goes down and then the strokes falling down. But then if you, let's say, draw the shape which be more like this in another universe, not in this case, you'll see all the hairs are coming towards the middle part, which will be the middle spine. And then if, let's say, in another universe, your shape will be something like this, then it could be even the upper spine, because all the strokes are coming upwards. So it's first of all very important for you to draw the shape first. Now in this case, the shape that I'm going to draw for this client is going to be the first case, something like that. So this means that for this client, what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw the lower spine, and it's very clear over here. We have some strokes coming upwards, but then suddenly everything goes down. This means that there is a spine which kind of divide these two sections in between. Let's see the actual procedure photo. Now this work was done a long time ago. This is long time my client. This is an edited picture. So as you can see here, the spine is in the middle. The reason, first of all, why I push the spine a little bit towards the end is just I feel this pattern will be more beautiful. You can absolutely do the spine like this and all the strokes will fall down, but I just find pushing the spine further over there makes more sense. So let's try to learn this pattern so you can understand. So first of all, let's draw the shape. Now we have to also learn the structure of the pattern, any pattern that we're going to do. It's always consists of three parts: the brow front, the middle part, and the tail, which is on top of the spine that you will choose yourself, either the lower spine, middle, or upper part. So actually what you need to do first is to draw the spine. Usually what I would do is to draw the brow front strokes first and then draw the spine. This way I feel you can memorize the pattern more easily. So first we drew the front strokes, then the spine, then the tail part, and then the middle part. So let me show in action how it looks like. Now for the brow front strokes, here will be a little bit tricky. I actually put a little dot over here so that my brow front strokes has nice curvy direction. You see? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Every stroke, by the way, just remember, has a distance. I believe this is 2 millimeter between each of them, and this will be the same, 2 millimeter when you work with a client. I believe it's 2 millimeter. I might be wrong, but probably bigger than 2 millimeter. Let me see. Yeah, probably 3 millimeter or 4. And then after this, you are going to draw your spine like that. Very easy. It doesn't have to, you see, it doesn't have to touch the upper part. It can, and it doesn't have to. You can play around with this spine. It could be touched from the upper part or even go a little bit lower, and then it will just change or shift this pattern slightly. Now, as I mentioned before, your next step after you draw the brow front, the spine, is to draw upper strokes. And you will find this pattern is so easy to do, but also it looks so beautiful. So then I just follow this spine and I create the strokes. The last one should be in your coming to the tail. Now, there is a little secret actually behind this to make sure it's really even and nice. Otherwise, you will sometimes think, okay, how do I place the strokes if there is no pre-draw? Because here I have a guided strokes underneath, which is the picture of the client. But if you didn't have, what I would suggest you to do is start with the arch, and starting from the arch, you're going to head towards the tail, but still leave the space for your last stroke that is going into the tail. So this one goes into the tail. And then what you're going to do, you just divide this part. If you can fit one stroke, you fit one stroke, which is just in the middle, which looks nice. If you have a bigger space, maybe you can fit 2 strokes. Again, you just divide this into 2 equal parts and put 2 strokes. Make sure just the distances are even. It will typically look nicer. And that is it, as simple as that. The patterns should not be complicated. Now this stroke, because we previously had the distance over here, it could be more rounder and it could go more towards here, where this one could go more towards there. So kind of fill out that space. By the way, if you want to practice this exact hair stroke pattern with me, I have made a free practice sheet that you can download. You can draw on, you can either use Procreate or draw on paper and practice. All you need to do is message me on Instagram, beauty/ with the keyword that you see right now on the screen, and I will send to you right away. Now the next step is going to be fill out our lower part. Again, it shouldn't be complicated. It is as easy as everything else. I love to make everything easy, and I will show you how to do that. So we still have this dot that is here. So we're going to do exactly that. We're going to continue filling out our stroke till reaches the spine. Again, please keep in mind these distances are the same, they're even. And also keep in mind, this is probably going to be a little bit more harder to you when you're starting out. There is this curve that is happening. It usually just helps the pattern to be more beautiful. You know, as again, our pattern is not the leaf, as I mentioned before, it's an eyelash. So eyelash would look something like this. So again, we have quite a bit of touching the previous one and then coming out, or you can say it as a waterfall. So let me remove this all back. Now, after you have this pattern, obviously this all is going to be erased just softly, and now you have a nice shape. What you put in between already doesn't really matter as long as this first path is vivid and clear enough. So this is going to be your darkest strokes. But again, keep in mind that the front stroke, they have to be light. So only these strokes have to be light, but still I encourage you to make the darkness only in the middle. And oh my goodness, I had amazing results from students. And now it's my time. There's Julie, if you're watching this right now. Oh my goodness, I love how she improved with the hair stroke technique. So in order to achieve the darkness part in the middle, you actually just want to stay longer at one spot. So for instance, if you fill out your hair stroke, you start just 1, 2, 3, 4, go down 1, 2, 3, 4. But in the middle, you do more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then again, to achieve the light effect, you just do 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's why this part will be darker, and that's what we want to achieve at our brow front strokes. We want them to be just darker in the middle, not at our starting points. I don't know why did I mention this, but I just suddenly remembered that the work was amazing. Speaking of which, if you need a support, that's what is now is my time program for. Now, how do we fill out the strokes in between our main strokes? I will show you in a minute, but I do want to show you a client's procedure, how this actually the first path look like, so you understand better. Also, by the way, question about how I do this on the client, specifically pre-draw. So as you see, I started with my brow front strokes, then I started with the spine, and then the tail. You can actually start with the spine and then brow front strokes, but I like to start with brow front. And by the way, if you want to also keep them symmetrical, what you need to do is you need to draw the brow fronts first and then draw them on the other side, keeping the same distance between strokes. You can even, well, it comes with a practice, but if you don't have a practice, you can just copy the distances and make sure you just copy them to another side. At least copying 3 strokes is easier than copying the whole eyebrow to the another side. So do 3 strokes on one side and copy that to another side. Then draw a spine on one side, copy the spine to another side. Make sure this distances that I will show you in a minute, which is very important. I just typically what I do, I either measure this distance, the spine, where this spine arrives, and kind of I take this distance and copy that to another side. So it's going to be somewhere there, somewhere here. And then I measure this distance, and then again I copy that to another side. So I know that the spine will go from here to there. So just measuring the distances and drawing the spine. And then again, do you remember the trick? Your arch coming down, and then again the arch coming down line, and then the last one at the tail. All right, maybe just a few shots of how I draw this, how I hold. Maybe it will be useful for you. But again, if you are in Now It's My Time, you can watch this in full. So you see I draw that one from the arch, and then I'm just drawing the one in the middle. You can do this in one time or just slowly part by part by part by part, and make sure your pencil is sharpened. This is the Sharpie pencil, so it really is very, I would say, waterproof. Now here I didn't go outside of the shape. That's because I already have that experience. I don't need to draw that outside, so I just follow from the shape. But you can go from, as I teach you before, from the spot, from the dot outside the shape, and then coming into the spine. And by the way, you can either go into the spine or spine outside the stroke. Now, I actually wanted to show you something else. So this is your first path and how it should be looking like. So this is the strokes that are the main strokes, and then you're going to fill out the strokes afterwards. Okay, here actually I'm putting even more color into the same strokes before I put in between. Yeah, so what I do is I first make sure my main strokes are filled with color, and then I will fill the strokes in between. So basically I'm finishing the whole eyebrow within 2 passes before I go to another eyebrow. But it doesn't matter, you can finish the skeleton strokes first, then draw them on another side, and then draw the baby strokes in between the skeleton, and then draw them on another side. It's all up to you. Yeah, so here's I already started to draw these strokes in between. So this was the very first path. It was very light, so obviously you want to make sure these main strokes are darker, so that's why I'm going over them again. So just for your information, this is how I started. So I started with the tail and moving towards the brow front, filling out my main strokes only. And also a little tip, I know this is about the pattern, but you can start even from the middle of the strokes. Like over here, I started from the middle going down. I didn't start from upper part. So it doesn't matter where you start. The stroke is very long, as long as you remember how many times you did on each spot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. It wouldn't matter from which part you start. Let's jump into the rest of the pattern. And I just want to show you how easy this pattern is, but still it's so useful. It literally is suitable for, I would say, most of the client. Even if you switch a little bit the spine towards middle, it's still everything remains the same, which is so cool. So how we fill out our strokes. If we're talking about the brow front, just to make it more simple, I would just encourage you to put just single strokes in between. Now, when it comes to these distances, they are a little bit bigger. That's why just having one stroke in between might be too apart. So that's why we want to make it a little bit more complex. So what I do is, there is indeed the middle stroke, but then this middle stroke, it has a little bit of the babies here and here, kind of to fill out the gap again. Let me just show you one more time. So you have this stroke, and obviously these distances are empty, so we want to create more there. So we add up a little bit of the babies there. Now, how it actually looks and how to actually do this in a better way is to do it the other way. So the same thing, but drawn in another way. So you would want to draw a waterfall here, then another, that one middle in between, and then another over here. So again, you draw a waterfall here, then another in between, and then another from here. So if I were to show you separately, so let's say this is our distance, right? So what I would do is I would draw a waterfall, I would draw a middle one, and I would draw the waterfall again. That's it. You could do this in another way. You could do the middle one first, draw a waterfall, and the waterfall. But keep in mind, these are the main ones and they have to be the darkest one. This one you could just do slightly darker, but that's it. So, and that's what's going on in here and here, the same thing. And for the tail strokes, it's even simpler. It is just the baby strokes that are coming out of the main stroke. So for instance, if you have a main stroke that is like this, then the baby stroke is just coming out. Again, if your main stroke is like this, your baby stroke is just coming out, which makes this very, very simple and nice. And you can alternate, you can add another one, or you can just add this baby stroke coming out from the lower part upwards to fill out the space. And that is it. Also, the beauty of this pattern, the spine, you can alternate, you can make it longer more towards the tail, or more towards the middle part of the eyebrow. Then again, you remember, right? All this falls following the spine, and then the tail just goes, everything goes down. So it's really, I would say, pretty much the simplest pattern out there. And it's just a matter, if let's say you worry about if your eyebrows will be not even one to each other, it's the matter of doing part by part, your brow front, copying that to another side, the spine copying another side, and the tails. So I hope this was useful to you. And if you have made this far, first of all, I'm really proud of you, because most of the people just scroll, but you actually stayed. So here's your little challenge. Replay this video. Follow the strokes with me, download the PDF file, take 10 minutes out of the day to practice the pattern, get used to the flow, get used to this pattern. You don't have to get it perfect, you just have to start. And if you still would love to practice with me, I would love to invite you to Now It's My Time program. It's not just a bunch of videos program, it's an actual amazing roadmap, live program, live support, and community of artists who are growing step by step together. We practice there on live session, we're checking each other's homework, we troubleshoot, we celebrate every little win. And if you are at the point where you are ready for that kind of guidance and support, you don't have to do this all alone anymore. You can try and experience this amazing program by clicking the link below, and you will fall in love with it. We can't wait to see you there, and I truly hope to see you thrive in this amazing industry of permanent makeup. And as always, I will see you next week on our upcoming new tutorials.